You'll write about
Ja,
Call the Lincolnton Board of Adjustment to order. We have a couple of absences. So present on the committee are myself, Greg McBride, Trent Mason, Kristen Radabaugh, Ani Tyson is absent, and we have a vacancy. So John Waters is our first alternate. Steve Lackey is our second alternate. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have minutes. Our first order of business, our only order of business, is BOA-3-2024 application from D.R. Horton requesting a temporary use permit for the purpose of a sales center located in the Clark Creek Landing subdivision.
Yes. All right. So you guys have had one of these situations before for Carpenter Farms. Very similar. This one will not be quasi-judicial. It's just a majority vote. So as you know, the ordinance states that any type of structure, temporary or permanent, located in a subdivision used as a sales office does have to come before you. It's typically issued for a period of 1 year, but it is renewable for a period of time to be determined by this board. And we want to do that anytime that the development is actively marketed. That way it is at the top of these subdivisions. They're not traveling through those. It's a convenient spot to put any of the sales models or sales offices. Okay, so here we've got this turned a little upside down, but this is to show you the same direction as the lots are platted. So we have lots 73, 74, and 75. 73 would be a single family home, which they have pulled permits for already for the construction. However, the temporary use is for it to be the sales center. 74 and 75 would be parking for that use. The photo here has the home and then driveway, but you'll notice that they put the parking just on the edge of those lots, because once this sales center is finished, they will convert each of these lots back to a single family and they will be built upon. Now, as it ends, I'm not sure if it's going to be, we can start with this one and move to the next, exactly how that will work out. But out of convenience, these are the first lots as you pull into that subdivision. Everybody get a chance to look at that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So since it is not quasi-judicial, you make a motion to approve or deny, and all it requires is a majority vote.
Do we also go and speak about the time limit as part of the motion?
You can. I don't think we did that with the previous one. I think we did it for a year,
We just did it for a year.
and then just reassess after that.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have any particular questions they'd like to approve? Do I hear a motion to either approve or deny the
Request for a sales office.
permit for request for a sale, temporary for a year's time?
I motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Our business is concluded.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. I'm going to call the planning board meeting for October 15th, 2024 to order. I'll ask all the members to look at previous minutes from the meeting on July 16th and look for a motion for approval, or if we need to edit anything.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, minutes are approved for July 16th. What?
I have one correction I just now saw. The very last, the motion to adjourn. I'm not sure who made the motion, but there's two people making the motion here. John Waters McBride.
Oh, so John Waters.
So we can make the, you can make the motion to approve as corrected, and then we'll correct
Yes,
those.
and now I make a motion to approve as corrected.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Minutes are approved. Thank you, sir. We will move into our public hearing for CZ-4-2024. Applicants from Sam's Express Car Wash requesting a conditional district rezoning of 4.02 acres of land from Planned Business District to the Highway Commercial District for the purpose of constructing a car wash with fuel islands. The subject property is located on the west side of North Generals Boulevard, approximately 1,400 feet south of the intersection of North Generals Boulevard and Sigmund Road. Parcel ID is 58277. It is yours, Gene.
Thank you, Trent. So as Trent stated, they are requesting to rezone from the planned business that it's currently zoned to a conditional district of highway commercial. That property, you may know, is the Homesteads Restaurant. It's been vacant for about 5 years or more. That was as far back as we could go to see. And they do want to do a new automated car wash with vacuums and fuel. The applicant is Sam's Express Car Wash, and they're headquartered out of Matthews, North Carolina. Their first location opened on December 3rd, 2012 in Fort Mill, South Carolina, and since then, they've opened multiple sites. And according to your website, it said you had 20 locations. Is that still accurate?
20 in the Charlotte area. We have 42 overall operating right now. 44.
And it also said that you typically provide amazing customer service and employ over 20 employees per site. And so that was kind of exciting to hear that there would be that many job opportunities for a new business. This is the adjacent land uses around this area include residential multifamily, which is the dark blue color. To the south, it's actually developed. These residential multifamilies, it's just vacant land. The commercial uses to the north, east, and west. The zoning districts vary anywhere from planned business to general manufacturing, and then the residential multifamily that we just talked about. But these are all planned business. The darker green is general manufacturing. This is just a view from the street. You can see the restaurant in the background. Just another view. This is just what the depiction of what the car wash would look like. The service providers for this, for water and sewer and electric, would be the city of Lincolnton. Solid waste, they would use a private vendor, and it would be served by the Lincolnton Police and the Lincolnton Fire Departments. The previous restaurant that was there, we just looked at their average water and electric usage, and they used around 65,000 gallons per month. The car wash will use 300,000 gallons per month. And their electric, the previous was 33,000 kilowatts, and they typically use around 45,000 kilowatts. So it'd be a substantial increase in revenue for the city. This is a copy of the site plan. And I'm going to zoom in a minute I'm going to take this one down and zoom in on the other one. It is 4.01 acres, like Trent said. There's 3 entrances. None of them are new. They're already currently there. The 2 from the Tractor Supply parking lot, and then the one, it comes off of Ashton Way, and then it runs in front of the county administrative building. But there would be 31 parking spaces, 6 fuel pump islands, 12 canopy vacuum spaces, and 10 non-covered vacuum spaces. And there'd be approximately a 4,100 square foot car wash. And I'm just going to pull up the site plan so you can see it a little bit better, because we can zoom in. But you can see that a little bit better. This area here is the covered area with the vacuums. This is the non-covered. This would be the car wash building. There's 2 lanes to go into the car wash. And there's the entrance from the south, and then the 2 entrances from the north. Any questions about the site plan?
Well, I do have. I don't know if you're the right person or if I need to ask the applicant for this. I just know from other adventures I'm in. Other committees I've been involved with. One of the things I always understood about this property was that it had to be basically approved by Walmart and Belka's, like who the tenant would be going in there. That they had some type of rider in that contract, for that parcel.
Is there a covenant or something? We do not enforce covenants. That's a civil matter.
Okay.
I think the covenant said it had to be commercial.
So it had to be commercial.
Are y'all aware of that? That that's in the covenants or something? There's something.
Well, I think that's the reason the county didn't buy the property. But
Right.
it just has to be commercial, which I would assume this is going to be commercial.
I mean, highway commercial, yeah. But I just didn't know,
But that's not a factor that we take into consideration.
Right.
So the land use plan currently shows this area in the planned business planning area. And just because we're asking to rezone it out of that doesn't mean that it's not consistent with the land use plan. When you read what the land use plan says about planned business, it says the majority of commercial uses outside of downtown are likely to occur in planned business areas. Planned business areas are designed to be the city's destination shopping areas. They encompass most larger shopping centers and commercial areas along the city's major corridors. New development is recommended to be compact in nature with buildings oriented towards abutting public roads as opposed to having a large parking lot in the front, with pedestrian accessibility both leading to and within the site being of high importance. Mixed-use residential and commercial developments are strongly encouraged. And then power center developments that contain a number of large retail outlets are allowable only through a conditional rezoning and should be designed to ensure compatibility. But we felt like this meets everything that's stated in the land use plan, so staff does feel that rezoning is consistent with the future land use map. There were many conditions of approval, and none of them are bad. They're just, specific to what they would need to show on the site plan and what would need to happen in order for this rezoning to take place. The site plan, they did show that they would have a maximum of 70% impervious surface area, but we would need the actual calculations on the amount. They would need to submit a complete set of civil drawings meeting all the UDA requirements and approved by all departments before the plan can be approved. Development on the site is to be consistent with the above site plan and the architectural renderings. Building plans must be submitted to and approved by Lincoln County inspections prior to development. They would need to obtain demo permits from city zoning and Lincoln County building inspections. In the area to the rear of the property, the city would like to see as many trees saved as possible where they're not developing that land, if they could leave trees. And we're asking them to show what trees would remain on the construction plan. The fire marshal comments, he felt like the site plan already met Appendix D, but they're required to meet that of the fire code. They would also need to submit a demolition safety plan in accordance to Chapter 33 of the North Carolina State Fire Code to the fire marshal's office. A sidewalk meeting the City of Lincolnton requirements would be installed along the entire frontage of North Generals Boulevard in front of the property and connect to that existing sidewalk to the south. Travis Jordan at DOT said they will not need a driveway permit since they're using existing accesses. And for the sidewalk, if it is in the DOT right-of-way, they would just need an encroachment agreement. Electric had some comments, and I'll read them. I don't know what they all mean. I'm just kidding. The construction work should not disturb the existing transformer and primary lines. If larger transformer or different secondary voltage is needed, the customer will be responsible for the cost of the replacement and any new transformer. This also applies to relocating the existing primary lines. The city electric department needs to evaluate a copy of the load calculated by the electrical engineer. The city can verify the transformer's KVA and secondary voltage upon request. The customer is responsible for installing properly sized wire and properly sized conduit, meeting NEC requirements to our transformer. No grading that would reduce the existing clearance from final grade to the depth of our existing primary wire is allowed. And then Todd Elmore from City Water and Sewer said that new connections will be required for city water and sewer, and there were options on the water. The existing 2-inch water supply line with current meters, if the 2-inch meter is needed, it cannot be connected to this line because it would probably cause pressure issues at the neighboring businesses. Alternately, there's a 12-inch ductile water main across North Generals, but that would require DOT encroachment, and they would need to bore North Generals. And I think the third option is the one that he felt like would be the best and easiest for them. There's an 8-inch water main along the Tractor Supply building that can be connected to, and that just requires crossing the parking lot. And the sewer is located in front of North Generals Boulevard and would require a grease grit removal tank. Soil and erosion at Lincoln County, Danielle stated that they would need an erosion control plan to be submitted for review and approval to Lincoln County prior to grading. Now we move on to our statements of consistency and reasonableness. We do feel that this project is consistent with the Lincolnton land use plan in the following ways. They would be redeveloping a parcel that has been vacant for years. They would be installing increased parking lot landscaping as a means to improve the aesthetics of a commercial development, and they're using existing curb cuts and have entry from multiple access points. Approval of this project is reasonable because it is compatible with the surrounding area and enables development of an underutilized site. If you chose to deny, it is consistent with the land use plan. So the denial would just be based on that you don't find it desirable in that area. Staff does recommend the following actions. Recommend approval of the rezoning of the property from planned business to highway commercial conditional district, approval of the statement of consistency for approval of the rezoning request, and that the zoning would be effective upon receipt of the signed conditions of approval from the applicant. Do you have any questions for me?
Quick question about, you reiterated a couple times, like, it's been sitting vacant. Is that one of the main reasons why, that planning department sees it as a good use for, to rezone this into the highway commercial?
The highway commercial, it's a weird one. I know we haven't had one to that yet, and that's probably why you're thinking it's weird. Some of the uses, when we redid 160, or the UDO to meet the 160D requirements, we had conditional use permits. Car washes were a conditional use permit.
Gotcha.
So they were taken out of the regular zoning districts, and they were put into conditional districts. And that's the only reason it's highway commercial. It sounds weird. It sounds like a crazy rezoning district for that. It's just that all those conditional use permit uses were moved to these conditional districts. And so that's just the one that fits the site plan.
I got you, but for, you mentioned it 2 or 3 times about like it being vacant for years, the site. Like, is that a deciding factor for like planning department when they say for like an approval in this situation is because it has sat vacant for so long? I mean, and is there a time period that y'all look at and say, hey, if it's a year, no, not so much, or is it like because that one's been sitting vacant for 5 years?
We don't have a specific time period where we're looking at properties, but we do look at properties that are vacant. And when somebody comes in with a decent plan, which I think for the city this is a good plan, it increases revenue. It's a big water user, a big electric user. It's, you saw what the development would look like. It's a nice building.
Gotcha.
So we just, it met all the zoning requirements that were, if before it was a special use permit or conditional use permit, but they meet what's required to be met. And
is that what like for whatever Zips and also Autobell, they fell underneath the
conditional use permits, and we don't do those anymore.
Okay, and so it just happened, and so that's what you kind of touched on before, and then I'm going back to that. So I didn't know if it was because it became highway commercial, just because like it had gas also, because I know those other ones aren't, they're not zoned that way, and
no, Zippy's. I think the Zippy's was approved as part of the Ingalls project,
Okay.
and it was a conditional use. I'm not sure about the Autobell, but I think that was a conditional use as well. No, it's just that when Laura redid the zoning ordinance, and when she did, she took all the conditional use permits and she created conditional use districts, and she put in the uses to what districts where she felt like they should belong. And so when we look at a project, we didn't feel it doesn't fit in with planned business quite, but there are other car washes in the area. We don't feel like it's a bad use. We don't feel like it's a negative impact on the environment or on that area. But when we have to look at how it fits in, highway commercial is the one that it kind of fit into, and it was a permitted use.
okay, because I would figure it needs to be on the highway for highway commercial, then, but
It sounds that way.
yeah, not necessarily, I guess.
Yeah, that highway, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not.
So the amount of water that you suggested, that's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
But do we still have an excess of available water in the city? Is that,
I'm sure that we have I think the city has a ton of water. I'd have to ask Richie for exact specifications. There are some areas where they may say we don't have, but I think it's more sewer capacity than anything. I don't think we have any issues with water capacity in any areas of the city.
In that
Yeah.
situation, we wouldn't have sewer capacity issues either, but no, there's no water issues.
no? at
And
one
Todd would have
time
brought
we
that
had
up, like,
excess.
Right.
This
Todd,
is a good way to use it, I suppose.
We're still catching up from losing Mohawk.
but the water resources director did review the plan, and he had no issues. His comments were the ones that were what type of lines and where they should connect. He would have brought that up. Or and the fire marshal would also bring that up if he feels like there's any water issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And the applicant is here if you have questions of the applicant. Or did y'all have anything you wanted to say? No?
I'd like to follow up on the water thing. I remember when we were going through a drought and the city had us not wash our cars outside, there was a comment from a car wash that they recycle the water.
Autobell does that.
And will you be doing And could you tell me just a little more how that works, or?
Basically, we have reclaim tanks that are underground, and then it goes through a massive filtration system, and then back out to the wash. So inside the bay, where your car goes through, there's what we call a pit. The water goes into there, there's one knob, which that gets cleaned all the time. And then the water that goes into there goes into a reclaim tank, through a filtration system, and then back to the vehicle itself. The next couple vehicles that come through.
So that saves a significant amount of new water coming into the
Right.
system, is that right?
Yeah, so 90% of the water we use, we recycle.
I'm sorry?
90% of the water that we use, we recycle,
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
all through those underground storage tanks and reclaim system.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from board members for the applicant?
I don't.
So no, because once again, it doesn't play into this. Because I was just thinking, I was like, if that covenant isn't in place and they don't get the sign off, like, and so I guess really my question is, if that was to happen, does this stay with that property for a year? Like, is it already rezoned for that, right? You know, and if they don't develop it, let's say if that covenant is right, and what's outside my head, and Walmart and Belk don't sign off on it, and say, well, we don't want the car wash there, and we rezone it, is it like it becomes that zoning for that
For this use.
for this use, and it doesn't go away unless somebody else comes and buys it and they need to have it redone, correct?
That's what we've said, but I think if you look at the ordinance, it actually puts a timeline on the conditional zonings, and we can look at that if you want to real
Yeah,
quick.
if you could, sorry, though.
That's okay.
I believe it's 5 years for conditional.
So if it didn't happen, if they didn't get approval for the covenant side of it, it would be sold this for 5 years. But somebody else could still come in and buy it, but they just come back before us, and they would ask for it to be rezoned back to whatever they want it to be.
Hang on, let's get the ordinance pulled up, although the internet's not working. Work fast.
It sounds like it would have to be something more than them just objecting. They would have to do a legal,
Well, this is me working with Lita and stuff, and I remember this coming up in a conversation about that. Walmart and Belk have the final say so what happens to that because that's technically their parking lot, and so they can have more objections. They get they have the final sign off on it.
We're on that now.
Yeah, I think either way, that's a legal thing.
Right. But I'm just curious what it happens, what it does to us if we approve it. I just want to know how long it stays this way.
But we're approving based on zoning. The
Right.
covenant is a civil matter and it has nothing, even like
Yeah.
neighborhood covenants, we can't enforce those.
No, and that's fine. I'm not asking about that because I understand that's not part of like the purview of our board. I'm just asking how long does that stay in place? Yeah, the zoning for it. So in case they go down that road and it ends up becoming that, and I'm just saying, all right, if this all hypothetical happens, if someone else was to go in there, they'd have to come back before us and change the zoning, right?
Right, unless
Okay,
it was.
that's all.
Okay. I was trying to get you the exact
yeah.
time frame, but I can't get the internet to work fast enough.
Chris is back there throttling you. He's like, nope.
I just typed it in and went there. This is the one that from the link, and this is the one where I typed.
I mean, it's really okay. It's really fine for knowing that. I just want to understand the process for that. If like I said, the hypothetical things, situation happens. I just wanted to make sure I understood that it did stay with it, even if they didn't develop it.
Right, but I think the ordinance says, I think in the past, I think the interpretation was that it stayed with it, but the ordinance specifically states a timeline, and Ashley says 5 years. I thought it was 2, but
Okay.
her memory when it comes to
Yeah, I don't.
the
question
ordinance is
Ashley's job either.
spectacular, but I just can't get it to pull up. But I can definitely get that answer for you.
I've been wrong too many times when I've questioned Ashley and been like, "Yep, I'm just going to stop."
But yeah,
Now that you publicly announced that.
Hey, know where your faults are. Go to the people who know, right?
see if it's just our website. All right, give us a second because we got to re.
There.
No sooner than 5 years after the date of the approval of the petition, the administrator will examine the progress made toward developing the property in accordance with the approved petition and any conditions attached. If the administrator determines that progress has not been made in accordance with the approved petition and conditions, the administrator shall forward to the city council a report which may recommend that the property be classified to another district. So
Alright.
they have 5 years.
That works. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions, concerns, or comments before we close the public hearing and go into board discussion only?
No, not for me.
Okay. Ashley, do I need to make a motion for go into board discussion?
But, and you don't have anyone signed up.
Okay, yeah, I didn't say that earlier.
And
All right. Where's that on the paper?
your laminated one.
What's up, my lady up here? That's all right.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't think you have to make a motion for discussion. It's only for the public hearing.
Okay, yeah, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at this point and go to board discussion only. Anything from anybody?
I have none.
All right,
I think the rendering looks great. Looks like a positive thing.
yeah, since it's been sitting vacant for 5 years.
Yep.
Well, the landscaping and everything is
Right.
very well done.
It'd be a good location for it.
All right, if no other discussions to be had by the board, I'll close the board discussion and we'll move in for a motion of approval with staff recommendations or denial.
Make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
I have a motion for approval of staff recommendations. All in favor? Aye. Motion is approved. Thank you all so very much. That does conclude our business for today. I will ask for a motion for dismissal planning board on this October. Motion dismissed. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. We're closed.